The goal of Solar Foods is to eliminate industrial animal farming with a high-tech protein harvest. Beer, wine, leavened bread, coffee, miso, tempeh, sauerkraut, and kimchi are just a few of the delicious foods that we can enjoy thanks to a chemical process that is thought to have begun in the Neolithic era. Fermentation has a long and illustrious history in the production of food, but if Finnish company Solar Foods, which was founded in 2017, has its way, fermentation may also play a very special role in the future of human nutrition. The industrial biotech industry is making an effort to commercialize a novel protein that it believes would serve as a healthy, sustainable alternative to proteins derived from animals. Under the commercial name Solein, a single-cell microbe produced through gas fermentation is essentially an edible bacteria. In other words, they are acquiring calorie-rich food from microbes that oxidize hydrogen. It operates technically like a brewery, in the same lead as fermentation technology. The method only has one peculiar feature, and that is the feedstock. Just a few materials are required to manufacture Solein, because it can be created utilizing only air, water, energy, and power. This future food does not need to be grown on vast tracts of agricultural land. It might be produced in remote regions or at factories located in urban and rural areas. The use of land and energy are the two main problems currently facing humanity, and everything else is a result of these two. In terms of the total amount of vitamins, amino acids, and proteins, Solein has 65% protein, which is comparable to many other meals and beverages including dried goods, dried carrots, and dried soy. So even though it is quite familiar, the combination is a little different. It has a mild and uninteresting flavor. Although a moderate flavor might not seem particularly appealing to the senses, it makes it easy to include it into a number of dishes without having to mask a strong flavor. Although a new species was discovered as a result of Solar Foods' fermentation process, the bacterium at issue is unquestionably far older than that. It may even be hundreds of millions of years old. Therefore, a remarkable mix of the old and new is happening in the bioreactor at the company. Why is it so important to find novel protein forms? The problem that Solar Foods is attempting to address is that raising animals for food has very negative environmental effects, whether you're talking about causing environmental pollution or consuming excessive quantities of land and water. But what if it were possible to create endless amounts of nutritious food without requiring the clearing of vast tracts of land or the killing of numerous animals in the process? If we could meet our needs without harming the environment, what would that mean? That's the guarantee and key distinction Solar Foods draws between its products and animal-based proteins. Solein still depends on farming to provide the necessary plants, such as soy, pea, oats, etc. that form the basis of their goods, in contrast to the expanding number of plant-based meat substitutes. Even while they require far less space than the production of meat, the environmental benefits are still fairly significant. But Solar Foods wants to take part in this market competition. They want to encourage businesses that make plant-based food to use Solein as an additional ingredient to provide wholesome, environmentally sustainable meals. Cereals, vegetables, fruits, and herbs aren't going anywhere, and therefore Solein might fit into an evolving food production system. Returning to the original problem, industrialized animal production is responsible for 80% of all food-related problems, such as habitat loss, forest loss, and other problems. Solein could solve 80% of the problem, but only 20% of the calories, as carbohydrates make up the majority of the calories we consume. The company also supports initiatives that aim to separate the production of protein from land use, such as lab-grown beef, because it is constantly looking for new clients. For instance, producers of lab-grown or cultured meat may utilize Solein to feed the cell cultures they use to produce steaks without using live animals. There are many uses for the edible bacteria from Solar Foods, as long as people are willing to. The startup's pitch focuses on the necessity of fixing a broken food system and ushering in the era of sustainable food production. Finally, it aims to develop a closed-loop system that will constantly reuse wastewater that contains Solein protein leftovers in the production of additional food products. And if it is successful, the edible bacteria might possibly function as a life support system for individuals on space missions where the duration of the journey is too great for humans to rely on food sent from Earth, such as, say, a mission to Mars. The key distinction between what they're doing and anything else now on the market is that they don't use any agriculture in the foods. Electricity and carbon dioxide are the main elements, not sunlight, carbohydrates, or oils. Therefore, that is the crucial moment at which the production of food and agriculture is separated. What we do is that. The justification for this is that, once the link between land use and how it affects food production can be broken, all of the environmental benefits that can be connected to food production effectively fall into your lap. The absence of agricultural goods in the foods is the key distinction between what they're doing and anything else that is currently available on the market. The main components are electricity and carbon dioxide instead of sunlight, carbohydrates, or oils. This means that the crucial period when agriculture and food production are divided is at that time. That is how we behave. The justification for this is that, once the relationship between land use and how it affects food production can be severed, any environmental benefits that can be connected to food production practically fall into your lap. Europe's energy crisis harms production. Solein appears to be a no-brainer in terms of the environment. However, as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a vital element of its production, energy, specifically electricity, is currently facing its own supply issues across Europe. Although Russia is an important gas supplier to Europe, it is unreliable. The long-term bet of Solar Foods is that the cost of energy generation will decrease due to the widespread availability of affordable renewable energy sources, such as solar in the balmy south and wind and hydro in the colder areas of Europe. The issue is that the European energy markets are currently set up in a way that the wholesale price of energy is tied to the cost of the most expensive type of energy, energy derived from fossil fuels, despite the fact that there is already a fair amount of renewable energy available that is much more cost-effective to produce. As a result, even if their energy provider uses renewable energy sources that are more inexpensive to produce, the bill payer will still have to pay more if the wholesale cost of energy rises. Fossil fuels must be replaced with electricity, which raises market concerns and necessitates the construction of a sizable amount of additional generation capacity. Sadly, there is currently turbulence. In spite of the current energy crisis, Solar Foods is still in business. It is now building its first factory, which is essentially a demonstration facility aimed at pave the path for an eventual commercial scale-up of Solein production, for a price of roughly €40 million. Since 2017, it has obtained debt financing, seed and Series A round funding, and backing from a number of VC firms. The demonstration facility, at least, won't require much energy to run. They are using a demonstration building powered by a single wind turbine to show that this is feasible on a larger scale. Real factories, on the other hand, would require 50 turbines to run because they would require 100 times more space and 50 times as much energy. Then, you need to have a trustworthy energy supply contract. If they were now preparing to invest in that factory, the turbulence might stop them. According to Solar Foods, the first consumer product containing Solein will be available by the end of the year, and manufacturing at the demo facility is expected to start in 2023. Regulatory approvals will define the first foreign market where the novel protein will be launched. Furthermore, the first consumer product to include Solein is yet to be determined. Due to its vitamin and mineral composition, which includes iron and B vitamins, they suggest a few potential uses for it, such as the fortification of previously existing foods like breakfast cereals or vegan meals. It might also serve as the main protein in products like pea protein, which substitute plant proteins for animal proteins. As an alternative, you may use it to make spaghetti or pastries without using eggs. A spreadable faux cheese can also be made from it, and it serves as the main ingredient in vegan ice cream and yogurt. They entrust product development and final formulation to them in order to assist the clients in revitalizing categories and making eating a positive act. Building on Solar Foods' decision to stay in the biotech sector, it could be a good idea for them to concentrate on producing this ingredient and making sure it has the functionality required for food items, as conversion fermentation is their area of competence. There are many major, experienced, established, and other food companies that have access to consumers, vast textural experience, and product development for a variety of plant-based ingredients. Therefore, it would be important to perfect not only what they are presently doing and mastering, but also the end product, of which the flavor and texture are obviously crucial, in order to properly bring Solein into the market. They have therefore begun a significant investment program, highlighting the fact that there are still a variety of requirements for creating a good that is even intended to be an ingredient in processed foods that people consume. Safety and functionality, the way it functions and produces texture, must obviously come first, followed by scalability and production technology. Is it scalable, and how does the supply chain work? Although Solar Foods won't be directly producing food, it does have a research and development center where it tests its product in the kitchen. A range of demo dishes are shown in pictures on the business website, including soup, bread, breakfast smoothies, and pieces of chicken served with pasta. Each of these dishes is a distinguishable bright yellow color. The naturally occurring beta-carotene in Solein is what gives it its color. Solein is purified and appears as yellow powder after being dried and processed in Solar Foods' electrolyzing, fermenting, and bioreactors. Due to the vivid hue, It partially resembles a specially made turmeric and cumin combo. Its flavor isn't quite as intense, though. One expert taster tried it and said it tasted like dried carrots. Whether you like carrots or not, the flavor is mild enough to easily be concealed in whatever food product it is being combined into. The extra nutrients would be concealed, though. In the hypothetical situation of adding Solein to pasta, eating a plate of spaghetti bolognese that contains all the nutrients from an animal-based component but doesn't require any minced meat would be the nutritional equivalent. For people who are used to eating traditional foods, many of which have cultural meaning, this could be difficult. It's not difficult to imagine inventive food makers being able to create something that not only tastes and feels like meat but also has a protein, iron, and vitamin content that is comparable to that of real meat as the flavor and texture of plant-based meats improves. This would be possible with the addition of Solein. That might be an extremely strong selling point for customers given the current trend of consuming lots of protein. In the laboratories of Solar Foods, various food ideas, such as vegan cheese ball lollipops, mayonnaise and dressings, pancakes, and many others, have also been examined. Since there are so many options for meat alternative patties, a burger won't be the first commercial product to use the component. It might resemble a nugget of meat, similar to those found in Asian hot pots or other similar cuisines. Some probable initial applications include yogurt, soup, and bakery goods. The company claims it wants to discover and enjoy diverse cuisine cultures around the world, so you might picture it being frozen food, fresh food, or even food from a street seller in an Asian city. It may make an effort to explain how Solein might appear in a variety of dishes, including Asian hot pots, hamburger patties, soups, or pastries. Evidently, food is a matter of personal preference in addition to culture. These difficulties with localizing the product and branding will be evident once Solein leaves Solar Foods facility and enters clients' commercial kitchens. Customers will have to decide how to best incorporate it with other aesthetic and cultural components, or even make it stand out loudly, where shouting about sustainability benefits may be the best technique to produce significant sales in a certain target market. There is no doubt that future food won't be boring or even always yellow. Due to the environmental difficulties our species faces, we must cultivate the desire to eat a wide variety of foods that will be available in the future.